do it. Now we know.
And for such a special occasion, I'd like to give you a little bit of the backstory. I think everyone here knows Paul retired in July. Paul had been struggling with some health issues for some time, and Paul being Paul, he would always try to rise to the occasion and come back, and was really hoping he could make it at least to the age of 62, because Paul loved this job and he loved working for senior services. And he tried many, many times, and it was a very difficult decision for him to make, to decide to finally medically retire. Our board of directors, and you've all heard me say, we're very blessed. And we have Chairman Bob Picard here with his lovely wife Sue, Claudette Remelade, and James Allen, who was one of the founding fathers of senior services, are here with us today. And they had voted at a board meeting that they wanted to honor Paul's service, 20 years of dedicated services to senior services, by dedicating the kitchen to Paul. I labored over whether talking to Paul about it, but in the end I decided that I thought I should. And I have to tell you, he was so pleased. He was just really so happy and very excited about today. Paul has good days and bad days, but unfortunately, and honestly, I feel safe that he would not hesitate for me to share this. He even took a drug holiday so that he would feel good today, because he really wanted to be here and be part of this. But unfortunately, Mimi called this morning and he's not well. He's not able to come. But Paul being Paul, I called back and thought I was going to get Mimi, and it was Paul, and his words, and you will all know, this is Paul. He said, listen, I'm going to try to suck it up and get in the shower. He's not well. And that's not the way any of us would want this. We would want it to be a happy occasion that he could enjoy. And so, unfortunately, Mimi said he was ashamed because of all the effort that went into it, and embarrassed, and we would not want that either. You are all here today. It's a testament to Paul and all he's done, and so we wish him well. We will still celebrate the day with all of you, and some of us will have some words to say, and maybe some of you out there will want to stand and say something. But for right now, I would like to invite Chairman Bob Picard to come up and say a few words.
I don't know what to say. I think Barbara said it all. This is like a family, isn't it? The senior center and the services that are provided here by this family, and one of our most important family members is not well. We know that Paul hasn't been well for some time. But what Paul has done here in my short term here, and with Jim, who is one of the founders of this board, we feel like we have a family member that's sick, right? What can we do? Let's pray for Paul, right? So I'm going to ask you all to bow your heads for about 15 seconds, and I want you to say a prayer for Paul's health. Thank you. And I'm a firm believer that, you know, when three people are together in prayer, the good Lord is here with us. And I think that, you know, Paul will get a little boost today, hopefully. That's better than any medication that I know. So enjoy the meal. Let's have fun for Paul. We're going to take some pictures and a little video, and we'll send it to him and let him know that not only do we care about him, but we're having a good time because we're celebrating And we're going to honor him by putting a plaque and honoring him in this kitchen, so that it will be here in another 300 or 400 years when the senior center is still going. Thank you.
I'd like to very quickly talk about my years with Paul. Everybody knows I absolutely love Paul. Linda, Paul, and I have been here 4.5 years, and many of you have heard me say, as luck would have it, prior to our coming on board, it was a time in government of stimulus money, and the government was throwing all kinds of money at agencies and telling them spend, spend, spend. And Marie Piet, who's been here for 25 years and who's really Paul's work wife, she and Paul would work very hard on menus. And at the time, which you didn't realize, lavish lunches would be served, and sometimes dinners, and pot roast was on the menu probably twice and sometimes 3 times a month. And again, as luck would have it, Linda, Paul, and I came on board, and it was sequestration. It was the government's time to cut every contract. And Linda and I were charged with the duty of trying to figure out, how do we balance the ship? How do we keep going? How do we continue to provide services with all these cuts? So we had to engage in a lot of fundraising, which all of you know, and I have to say, it was kind of like the Fab Four became the backbone, but many of you also volunteered, and Paul had his A-team of volunteers that helped at special events, but what we did was, and that's Linda Tebow, Paul, and myself, we kind of like we're in the trenches. And when you're in the trenches, there's a certain bond that will never be broken. I can remember the first year it was fashion show, and it was all girly stuff, and of course Paul was the only one at the manager's table, the only male sitting there. And to his credit, no matter what we asked, Paul would always say yes. Most of the people would have rolled their eyes in their head, probably would have sputtered, but I can remember pulling out a magazine and saying, "Oh, look at the really nice quiche," and he didn't even get upset that I can do that. And then of course there were proms, and there were dinner dances, and all kinds of events. No matter what you asked him to do, he would always very willingly say yes. I wish I could clone Paul. But I have to say to you, Autumn Fest, it certainly did separate the men from the boys. Autumn Fest, and I guess I want you all to understand how much went into it, because Autumn Fest, and nobody knows this better than Bob Pickard, Autumn Fest is a 3-day event, and so it's actually Bob's fault, because of course we were really poor, and I just started in Linda, Paul, and Bob said, "Hey, I can offer you the hot dog stand, and you can make a lot of money." And of course that's all he had to say to me is, "You can make a lot of money." I said, "We're in." And of course, many of you volunteered and lent your support. But for Paul, what it meant was you worked all week, the week prior. On Saturday morning, he would come in probably about 6 o'clock, and he would start to prepare the chili. And then we would all get here, and we'd load it all in the van and bring it over to Autumn Fest, because the Department of Health had to be fully set up before 9 o'clock, because the Department of Health would start to make their rounds. And you got to work to 10 o'clock that night, not leave. And then the next day, Sunday, it's the same thing. Back here early in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. And Monday, thank God, we get to close at 6 o'clock. And there were good times and bad at Autumn Fest. There were times when it would be rainy and cold and we'd look at each other. But again, it was a very bonding experience. But for Paul, there was tremendous amount of work, tremendous amount of hours. And then he got to come back and work the whole next week again. But he never ever complained. And to Marie's credit, Marie was always the wind beneath his wings. Marie was the rock of the kitchen. He knew he could depend on her. And again, she gave him so much support. So I wish I could clone Paul. We all miss him, but today is not a goodbye. We talk to him, he calls, he visits when he can. Sometimes I'll talk to him on a weekend and he'll say, "I was thinking about you, but I didn't want to bug you." And I told him the truth. Paul is like Bob. If I don't see him or hear from him every so often, it's kind of like, where are they? What's going on? But I don't want to be hard with the mic. I want to pass it to Linda Tebow because she actually had the pleasure of working with Paul longer than I have with Linda Paul. And I'm sure she wants to share some thoughts with you.
Not too many, she said it all. I work with Paul not as long as Marie. She's been absolutely the wind beneath his wings. But it's been a pleasure of mine to work with him for at least 9 years. And through the good times and the bad times, both. We did the stimulus meals, and then we had to tighten our belts and see what we could do. And the work that he did absolutely kept us afloat. He figured out ways to deliver what everyone was used to, and still cut the price down. Autumn Fest, there's many of you sitting in the audience here that wore the hot dog hat, and I'm looking at somebody that wore the hot dog hat for the whole weekend. And you know what? We did laugh, we did have fun, but it took its toll. It was a lot of work, and we did it for what, 4 years, I think, huh? We finally sold the booth. But, you know, Barbara used to say, when she came on board, she'd say, Tebow has a thought, she has an idea. And Paul would roll his eyes and he'd say, oh no. But secretly he would say to me, Linda, whatever you want, we'll do it. And he always did. The fashion show, he had a real girly little lunch, if you remember that, with the asparagus and the quiche and the flowers and the frills for the proms, for the first veterans dinner. He was always on board. It was always anything you want. It was all about seniors and doing the best for them. And I miss working with him, but we still keep in touch. We still talk, and we just, wish him Godspeed and if we can just get his health. And here's the other Linda.
Okay, I know they did say it all. I'm not a great speaker, but I'm going to speak from my heart. I'm sorry. I don't want to make this a sad event, but we do miss him. He's so funny. He sees my husband. My husband happens to be in sales, so he's all over the place. He sees him at Dave's Market, of all places, and starts telling him how much he misses us all and loves us. And so we're always in his mind, too. So we want you all to know that. He loves every one of you. And I thank the staff, Marie and everyone. We got our boy Steve now too, which has been wonderful. And thank you for stepping in those shoes. We really appreciate it. And but we do miss Paul. And I remember, when he entertained, at first he was so afraid to entertain. He had to look elsewhere. Before you knew it, he'd have cowboy hat on and a cowboy shirt at one of the events, and he was singing along. So that's our Paul. But he's going to be so thrilled to see the video today of all of you here. You all mean so much to him, and as Barbara said, he would like to have done it longer than he did. But again, his heart is always with you all. So thank you all. You're all wonderful. So thank you.
Actually, today I thought it most appropriate that we pass the flag to Marie Pierre. But before we do, is there anyone here that would like to say anything? I know Paul had a wonderful relationship with all of you. There were many times I would be in the kitchen, and boy, he knew all of you. He knew your likes and dislikes. I was kind of a drag on the line because I didn't know who liked peas and who didn't. And I would learn. But it was interesting banter he would have with all of you, and he cared so deeply for all of you. So I don't see anyone coming forward, so I think that Chairman Picard, would you come up one more time? Yes, please. Can we present this plaque to Marie Pierre? Because that's who Paul would like to pass it on to. And Marie, would you like to read? Would you like me to? Brescia. This kitchen is dedicated to Paul Leduc in recognition of your 20 years of valuable contributions to Senior Services, Inc., 2017.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down a road and back again. Your heart is true, you're a pal and a confidant. I'm not ashamed to say, I hope it always will stay this way. My hat is off, won't you stand up and take a bow? And if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, well, you would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for being a friend.
He felt bad today for not coming. He figured he'd hurt everybody's feelings, but he didn't. He hurt mine. Everything I learned from Paul. So he has my respect, he has my love, and I thank him for being who he is. Thank you.
Well, bless us, O Lord, and give us thy gifts, which we are about to receive from thy bounty, through Christ our Lord. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let me tell you about a friend. I wanna thank you. Thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you. Thank you for being a friend. I wanna thank you. Thank you for being a friend. And when we die and float away into the night, the Milky Way, you'll hear me call as we ascend. I'll say your name, then once again, thank you for being a